Vault program. And to Houston, Texas as our next stop on the phones. Arthur, hello, sir.
Hello, Rush. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you called. Great to hear from you.
Yeah, I agree with you about 99.9%. What did you say your rate was?
Accuracy rating, latest we have from the Sullivan Group out in Sacramento, California, shows latest opinion audit. I'm documented to be almost always right 98.1% of the time.
Yeah, anyway, ditto. But I called because I found you in error.
Oh?
It was a Tuesday morning following, I'm pretty sure it was Pittsburgh, Miami at Pittsburgh. I hate to talk about football after all the serious things that are...
Oh, go ahead. Hey, feel free.
I know you're a football nut.
I'm in withdrawal.
When you talked about being on the field during the Super Bowl, you could see that you were...
Oh, I loved it, yeah.
Anyway, it's a way of life in my family. And you were allowing us how Pittsburgh had such a good pass rush, and they were blitzing so well that there was nobody could pick up the blitz. And I beg to differ with you.
That's not what I said.
No, I knew you were going to say that.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
Now, I was suggesting it was the last minute and a half of the game, last 2 minutes of games. It wasn't a Monday night game of the Dolphins and the Steelers.
Yeah.
And
they'd been blitzing the whole game pretty effectively.
Yeah, but in the last minute and a half, the Dolphins are out of timeouts. And so they can't throw to the middle of the field because they got to throw outs, got to run out patterns, throw to the sidelines so as to stop the clock. And what succeeded, what the Steelers' strategy of blitzing the cornerbacks, which was a risky move because
you let one-on-one coverage. Yeah, you're receivers and you get a wide receiver and a linebacker.
You're going into man coverage, and they were blitzing the corners, and they didn't go into the prevent defense. They stayed in a regular defense.
You realize, of course, that and I'm not denigrating Neil O'Donnell or the other guy who I think is a very courageous, DeBerg, who's 100 years old.
Yeah.
But if that had been Marino or Joe Montana or any one of 2 or 3 guys, they'd have picked that apart.
Doesn't matter. It wasn't Marino. This is the point. It wasn't Marino, and as such, they didn't go to the prevent.
Nobody could have picked up the blitz the way Pittsburgh was doing. And maybe I made a mistake. My rate of being wrong is much greater than that.
I don't think I said nobody would have picked up the blitz.
Well, if so, then I stand corrected.
All right.
But I know you're a football nut.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm good at politics, too.
3 years to get through to you.
3 years?
Yeah, I've been trying from 2 states. I lived in Vermont. I moved down here to Texas. Today I just sat here and I was about to give up, but I tell you, I know it's hard to get through. You were saying the other day that out of 20 callers, how many get through?
Well, out of every 10 that we take, maybe 1 or 2 actually make it on the air. In terms of not the ones that we put on hold to go on the air, I'm talking about for every 10 people that call, we'll decide that 8 of them are not worthy.
You mean they're just not suggesting that you talk about anything interesting?
No, it's just that maybe they don't have anything interesting to say, or that they are not prepared to make the host look good. And no, that doesn't mean that they got to compliment me.
No, I've heard you put on a few recalcitrants in your time.
We don't get them all. We do our best to screen. Look, I know this is going to sound very cold-hearted to callers, but this is a show, and I've been very honest about this. By the way, would you thank whoever just turned on the AC? We got a blizzard out there, and it was an oven in this studio. Gene Maxwell just fixed it, and I now feel the airflow. It's about time, and I profusely offer my thanks to Gene Maxwell for getting this fixed. No, my only point is that this is a show done. We've got 22 million people per week in this audience, and right now, at any given time, there are over 5 million people listening.
Yep, you get me all the time.
We've got 4 people on hold in addition to talking to you.
I would have thought more. I don't know how many lines you have. I used to think it was just, it wasn't going to happen. That was ever going to get through.
Well, you did.
And but I'm going to call back because you say things that are provoking, and but I love you, Rush.
Thank you.
Politically, I never have a disagreement with you.
It's only
occasionally you carry on, occasionally with some of your pet projects, but politically, thanks.
Thank you, sir. But you've brought this caller stuff up again, and I don't want to leave that out there hanging. I'm just being very honest. This is a show that is about what I think, and it's a show about the things I'm interested in every day. And Mr. Snerdley, the screener of calls, determines which callers make it on the air on several criteria. Ability to speak, something to say, something that is related to an issue or an event, somebody who does not want to make a speech, somebody who is not going to read what they say, somebody who's talking about something relevant. There are a number of characteristics. Sometimes it's caller is funny, has a funny thing to say. There are any number of things. But just because you get through here does not mean you make it on the air or make it to the air. As we look at callers the way music stations look at records, you only play the top 10. Thanks very much, Arthur. Let's see, where do we go next? Let's try William in Los Angeles. Hi, William. Glad you waited. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks, Rush. Mega dittos from L.A. I agree with most of what you say.
Thank you.
I have to take issue with what you said yesterday regarding the school system. I think you have a fundamental misunderstanding regarding how the feminism and socialism and so on influences the school system. I was a high school teacher for about 3 years in Ireland. I taught in a convent for 1 year, and in the other 2 years I taught in a state school, which was mixed. And I found that the girls that I taught in the single-sex school performed, their standards were higher academically, and they had more respect for authority and all that, better manners, than in the mixed school where the standards were lower. But I think as well that the feminism and the Irish Ministry for Education, which is composed of feminist and socialist slime, has influenced the state school system in a very bad way by bringing in gender-neutral textbooks into classical, the classical novels that Dickens and Shakespeare wrote, and trying to clean those up.
Yeah, I agree with you. We were talking about, it's like Jesse Jackson going up to Stanford and saying, hey, hey, ho, ho, Western civ's got to go, and they try to abolish the Western civilization curriculum out there. It's at Stanford.
That's badly impacting on standards, particularly in the mixed school system. But and also over there, they want to bring in a single or unisex changing rooms in the state school system, and that's how the feminism has taken over in Ireland in the Ministry for Education, and but the convents have resisted all of that up to date, and also in the state school system over there, they have brought in pornographic sex education videos for the mixed school system, so that is also badly impacting on standards. And that has been kept out to a large extent.
Well, you and I really are talking about two different things. If we want to talk about the bastardization of the curriculum at a given school, you and I would agree. But I don't think it has anything to do, at least here in the United States, with whether or not you have a single gender class or school or mixed. Because I think there are feminist and victimization forces which are behind this movement towards segregating boys and girls in school, and it's I think an entirely different case than what you've described in Ireland.
Are you spending double what you need to for your life insurance? Find out. American Republic Insurance Company, rated A+ by AM Best, offers lowest cost term life insurance you buy direct from the company. $1 a day buys a 35-year-old man $355,000 of coverage. Rates guaranteed level for 10 years. Tell us your age and the amount you need. We'll send a no-obligation quote immediately. Stop overspending. Call 1-800-901-LIFE. That's 1-800-901-LIFE. Available in most states.
This is WGBR News, Goldsboro's very own.
This is Wayne Alley. The Wayne County Board of Education will ask county commissioners for an additional $100,000 in order to re-roof Goldsboro Middle School. The school board declared it a state of emergency. Board member O.R. Stovall III said they have no control over it. Dr. Stovall said the engineer has said it's unsafe to put the type roof the board planned to put on the building, and he prefers not to take chances. The recommended roof will cost $100,000 over the budgeted amount. Re-roofing Goldsboro Middle School and School Street School will cost a combined total of $365,000. State Department of Transportation officials presented some thoroughfare proposals to the Mount Olive Town Board last night, the first improvements proposed for the town since the early 1980s. Mount Olive Mayor Lewis Pate said the proposals are as much as 15 years away from reality.
The primary things they recommended was an outer loop around the town, and secondly, to make James Street and Main Street a one-way pair of streets through the town to help out with traffic flow. Also, one other thing they pointed out the need was to widen Brazil Avenue, where it is currently 2 lanes, to a
Mount Olive Mayor Louis Pate, who said that third lane would be for left-hand turns that would help to reduce a holdup of traffic. The Civic Center Study Committee, headed by Keith Gannett, recommended to the Goldsboro City Council last night that a civic center or a multi-purpose facility is a feasible concept in Goldsboro, providing it's accomplished through a partnership arrangement. The study committee recommended the City Council explore this concept with Wayne Community College. The council accepted the recommendations and referred them to its Special Projects Committee composed of Mayor Hal Plunk and Councilman J.B. Rhodes and Phil Bedour Sr. Residents on Collier Street, Spring Street, and Country Day School Road raised questions at last night's public hearing before the Goldsboro City Council relative to the installation of paving with curb and gutter, water, and sanitary lines on those streets. No one commented on Herring Street, Birch Circle, and Cashwell Drive projects. The City Council referred all comments to the Council's Public Works Committee for further investigation with a request that the committee make a report at the next meeting of the Council. The Public Works Committee is composed of Council members Fred Lutz and Delmas Bridgers. The weather forecast is next. I'm Wayne Alley.
Well, the air mass overhead has grown moist and unstable enough to support a few rain showers from time to time as weak upper-level disturbances drift overhead. So our forecast for this afternoon, it'll be breezy. We'll look for a mixture of clouds and sunshine, a few showers possible, highs ranging from 60 to 70 degrees, then variably cloudy tonight, lows 55 to 60, and for tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy and breezy with widely scattered showers and possibly a few thunderstorms late in the day, highs tomorrow 74 to 78. I'm Mike Moss at the Weather Center.
We now take you to the world headquarters of the EIB Broadcast Network in beautiful downtown New York City and journey to the 17th floor to the patriotic center of the universe, the Rush Limbaugh Broadcast Studios, where daily Mr. Limbaugh broadcasts truth to the truth-starved multitudes of North America. And now, ready to take his hallowed place behind the golden EIB microphone, is the great one himself, Mr. Rush Limbaugh.
Thank you, Johnny Donovan. One of the, a couple things that I want to make sure I get to today and discuss, Clinton and Bosnia. It seems like the same old thing. Seems like every time that there's a shocking development over there with pictures accompanying the shocking development, like the bombing of the marketplace over there, then everybody's sensibilities somehow get out of whack, and here comes the talk once again of air raids, air strikes, and consensus with the United Nations sending off a letter to Boutros Ghali demanding this or demanding that. And I want to contrast the way Clinton is behaving in this regard with Lady Margaret Thatcher, who made a speech last night at the University of Missouri at Rolla. And she ended with a line. I don't know if she ended with a line. She used a line in that speech, which I first heard her use last December, speech here that she made at the Waldorf Hysteria Hotel, where it was a legal foundation address, and I was fortunate enough to attend as the guest of Anthony Kennedy, Supreme Court Justice, his family. I'll never forget the line, "Consensus is the death of leadership." And she used that sentence again last night in her speech to the University of Missouri at Rolla. She said that there's a lack of leadership in the world today, and I'm reminded that Reagan, in his speech Thursday night in Washington, at his birthday gala, said that what America craves today, what America wants, is leadership. Margaret Thatcher said that NATO and the United Nations cannot fill the leadership void. She said the West cannot afford to maintain a hands-off approach to the fighting between Bosnians and Serbs. The fact that the West has not dealt with this situation will come back to haunt us. And she said, despite all the changes that have occurred in the Soviet Union and other former communist states, there is no real new world order. And she said that though NATO and the United Nations fill an essential role, they cannot provide necessary leadership because all they are instruments of consensus, which is what President Clinton is. Consensus is the death of leadership. So now we're talking about airstrikes again. Airstrikes, by the way, which, may I remind you, airstrikes which would be the result of a use of military force that would reside would rely on cluster bomb units, laser-guided bombs, Those are the bombs that can be directed into a gun dugout. Laser-guided bombs would be useful against targets closer to civilian populations. The effectiveness of thermal homing bombs, which are the bombs we use to locate Iraqi tanks, could be limited by mountainous terrain. Allied forces could also use counter-battery radar. The problem with all of this is that here we are talking about using all these state-of-the-art military options by an administration which is paring the United States military to the bone in its latest budget. The president loves to run around and talk about how, hey, you know, the Reagan years and the 1990 and 93 budget deals put a bunch of spending caps. We can't really spend all that much more money unless we get it from somewhere else. Which is true. The caps are still there. If you want to spend some money, you got to cut somewhere else. And everybody's running around complaining about that. On the one hand, they're talking about how the deficit's coming down, and it is, but they're using a bunch of assumptions for these deficit projections in the future looking so good. Everybody said, we got to get the deficit down, we got to get the deficit down. It's coming down, apparently, and people are not happy about it now because, well, we can't go spend any more new money. I'd remind you the deficit is still higher today than it was in 87. The deficit's higher today than it was in 1988. The deficit's higher today than it was in 89 during the Ronald Reagan years, ladies and gentlemen. It's much higher today than it was in any of those 3 years. Pound the table, get that drilled into your head. The projected deficit that Bill Clinton is taking credit for, which is the result of George Bush's last fiscal year, by the way, is still higher than the last 3 years of the Bush or the Reagan administration. And keep also in mind that the deficit projections being so low would have been much, much higher if Clinton would have gotten his stimulus package. Remember, he wanted all this 16 to $20 billion of spending in the first 6 months of his administration to spur the economy, and it was Republicans who stood in the way. Republicans ought to be getting a lot of credit for this deficit being lower than everybody thought, because had Clinton had his way, it would have been a lot higher. So you got the deficit coming down, which everybody said was a must, and now Clinton's complaining that he cannot spend any new money without taking it from some other existing program because of what Reagan did to him. One of Reagan's great legacies, my friends, was to take from the Democrats their number one weapon, spending. They just can't do it. The spending days are over, but they can get money from defense, and they are. They are paring defense down to the bone. But even if we go through these airstrikes, what then? It's the same old thing. Has a vital national interest been defined? No. Has an objective been defined? No. Has an exit been defined? No. Has a strategy been defined? No. None of the ingredients. Read about them in my book, See, I Told You So. Chapter on Foreign Policy. None of the objectives, none of the strategy, none of the exit maneuvers, none of anything that has to do with knowing what you're doing has been done. All we're doing now is talking once again about airstrikes, and Clinton's even backing off that. Clinton said, we showed this clip on television last night. They said, what can you do, Mr. President? What needs to be done? Well, we just need to get all 3 sides together and have them agree. We just need them to get together and get along. Just have all 3 sides get over there and agree that what they're doing is wrong. It's kind of like dragging Rodney King out as Secretary of State. Can't we all just get along? Can we all just get along? That is the scope of U.S. foreign policy. And in the meantime, Margaret Thatcher. Consensus is the death of leadership. It's real simple what you do. You just lift the arms embargo against the Bosnians and let them defend themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just arm them. It's a war. And all of our hopes and all of our wishes that the meanies stop acting mean, this is a 1,000-plus year war. And for anybody to think this is going to be stopped because the President of the United States, a real feel-good guy, wishes it would stop? You're dreaming. Kathy in Washington, D.C., welcome to the EIB Network. Hello.
Hello. Megaditto from inside the Beltway, right?
Thank you, Kathy.
I've been listening to what you've been saying about Margaret Thatcher. Let's just change the Constitution, bring her in here and elect her. I'm for her. Let's go.
Yeah, she's a great lady.
She is. I had one question. I may have missed something. Unfortunately, I couldn't listen yesterday, and I've been kind of peeking in a bit today about your question on single-sex schools. I take it you think that they shouldn't have single-sex schools because there's no proof that it helps or there's any advantage to it.
No. Let me restate the case. Tell you what, Kath, can I take a break here?
Sure.
So you hold on to the break. We'll be back, and I'll restate the case and reestablish the example right after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
says conservatives don't know how to have fun? You ought to try the Farming Game. It's the best family board game in years. A classic. The Farming Game is the capitalist system in miniature. Realistic enough to be used in schools, but fun enough to have sold a couple 100,000 copies. To order the Farming Game, call 800-222-GAME. For a good time that'll last for years, the Farming Game, 800-222-GAME.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get Hooked on Phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Monk's Furniture Warehouse in LaGrange has set the standard for savings, selection, and satisfaction. The Warehouse Way for over 10 years. From all over eastern North Carolina, customers save every day at Monk's Furniture Warehouse.
You come in, and I think you're going to be pleased with the down-home atmosphere that we have there. We've been here 10 years because of the customers that we have. We really appreciate that, and that's what made us successful.
Even after the sale, satisfaction is still the goal, with service from the store that saves you more the Warehouse Way every day. Monk's Furniture Warehouse.
We give good service on our product. If one of our customers has a problem, we want to know about it. When we find out about it, we're going to get them satisfied and get that product taken care of for them.
Monk's Furniture Warehouse in LaGrange. They thank you for your continued patronage for the next 10 years.
And I really want to extend a great appreciation to them for what they've done for us for the past 10 years.
Monk's Furniture Warehouse, Highway 70 between Goldsboro and Kinston at Little Baltimore.
Anytime, anywhere, any place, McCall's caters to you at your place or theirs. Make your business, civic, or social meetings more fun with great tasting barbecue pork, chicken, beef ribs, pork ribs, or beef. They can customize seafood, steaks, or any items to meet your needs. So for parties, civic meetings, weddings, church gatherings, family reunions, or any gathering of any kind, McCall's caters to you. Call 751-0072 in Goldsboro.
There are great deals at Leaf Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle Leaf Dodge Isuzu. How about a 1994 Dodge Caravan, only $16,961, or a 94 Dodge Shadow, only $91,995. Check out the 94 Dodge Dakota Club Cab, as low as just $15,995. All prices plus tax, tags, and dock fee now at Leaf Chrysler Plymouth Jeep Eagle Leaf Dodge Isuzu, plus hundreds of others to choose from now at Leaf, Highway 70 West, Goldsboro.
Back to the nation's capital inside the Beltway. This is Kathy. Yes. Kathy, I have been noticing lately a spate of news stories on the needs, some women say, for the establishment of all-girls schools because girls are not being paid enough attention, nor being given enough support, nor being treated fairly in mixed classrooms. This is the result of bias, gender bias, and discrimination. The only way girls can have a fair shot at a decent and equal education, say those who favor the single-sex schools, is to take girls out of classrooms with boys and put them in their own schools. My reaction has been, I can sum it up this way. I refuse to believe that the problem, and I'm willing to admit there's a problem. I'll grant that there is a problem in the classroom today. Maybe boys are called on more often. Maybe boys are treated better by teachers. But I just remember when I went to school, it was the girls that got all the great grades. Girls were the valedictorians, salutatorians. The girls were always the members of the National Honor Society. Boys were always the ones in trouble. And I don't know when things change, but what I suspect is going on here is the continuing victimization of women by those who are the proponents of this plan. This is another way for them to say, see, women are victims of a male-dominated society. And if these problems exist, the solution is not segregation. The problem is not to desocialize women from men, because once they get out of schools, they're going to encounter men in all walks of life, and if they don't know how to deal with them, they're not used to dealing with them, getting along with them, and functioning with them, then they're not going to be better off when they get out of school than they are in school. What needs to change is teaching techniques. I refuse to believe we need to overhaul the American educational system in the sense that boys and girls in the same classroom no longer works. Because what they're then saying is that it didn't work ever. If the problem has always been that girls just don't have a fair shot at things when they're grouped with boys, then they're saying the way I was raised in school was bad, the way you were raised, the way everybody in my staff was raised. I resent it. I resent the fact that the way, back when the traditions and institutions of this country that made it great were respected, honored, and obeyed, things worked. Now, the culture war crowd will try to tell you that those inherent traditions and institutions that made the country great were flawed from the beginning, and only now are we seeing, after 200 plus years, the real consequences of America as it was designed. And I would submit to you that America worked fine until these loco weeds in the 60s got hold of these institutions and traditions and started bastardizing them and destroying them.
Well, the problem is they're trying not to offend anybody.
Oh!
You know, and that's the problem. You can't go through life not being offended. I mean, you have to be offended. I mean, in schools today, you can say every word in the book except God.
Yeah, well, there's a quote from this little girl in the USA Weekend story that I got this from yesterday. I feel dumb. I feel dumb, and they make me feel dumb. Well, welcome to the club. I can't tell you how dumb people made me feel in high school.
If she's made to feel dumb, maybe she ought to think the fact that maybe she is dumb.
No, maybe that's true. She may be dumb.
She may be dumb, but going to a woman's school is not going to help that. You know, if she's going to allow herself to be demoralized by a teacher. And there needs to be some parent control in this, of course, also.
Well, true, but look, I'll admit that we may need some changed teacher techniques.
Oh, yeah, I think we do, in that we have too many teachers who are bleeding heart liberals who just hand it to these kids and won't make them behave themselves.
I'll tell you what's going on in this country. There are two rights that have recently been discovered by the crowd that governs its entire life by its feelings. See, people don't think enough anymore. Questions and surveys. How do you feel about that? In school, how do you feel about the fact that Napoleon lost at Waterloo? Instead of what do you think was the reason why? Nobody's asked to think anymore because that's too tough. But feeling is easy. And these two new rights that have been discovered by the touchy-feely New Age monsters that are out there bastardizing the institutions and traditions that made America great are, a right not to be offended, and a right not to be insulted. I have a right not to be insulted, and I have a right not to be offended. And there are no such rights. Life is fraught with people who are offensive. Life is fraught with people who are going to insult you. And life, therefore, is made up of learning experiences which hopefully teach you how to deal with those types of situations. Because once you remove yourself from the protected insulation of the all-girl academy, you get out there in the real world, you're going to find a lot of boors. You're going to find a lot of John Wayne Bobbitts. You're going to find a lot of Ted Kennedys. You're going to find a lot of people that don't respect you no matter who you are, no matter what you do. And if you don't know how to deal with it, if you expect to be able to run for cover every time something happens, he insulted me, where do I go sue? There's no place to go sue for that. Yet, with enough women on juries, who knows what might happen. No, I'm telling you, folks, this stuff really bothers me. This whole business of being governed by our feelings, this whole business of how do you feel, this whole business of being conditioned to feel sorry for anybody who comes before us in some kind of forum with tears. I think my father abused me, and so I went and had a gun, and I shot my father, and now I don't have a father for the rest of my life. And the jury says, it's so sad. He has lost his father. He shot his father. It's so sad, though. He doesn't have a father for the rest of his life. He shot him. He killed his father. Well, but now he's got to go through life without a father. I mean, that's what we've come to. We're in serious trouble out there, folks, when we govern everything we do by our feelings. And I suggest to you this move for single-sex schools on the bases that they are offering as the reason for doing it is flawed. It's a mistake to do it. It's an insult to the great teaching techniques of the past. What we need to do is retrain teachers today or do whatever, but the solution, everybody just wants to run away from problems. Little girls go to school, they made me feel dumb. Okay, we'll get you out of there. You know, it doesn't work that way in life. You can't run away. Unless you run away to the woods and live with the hoot owls and the polecats and become a member of Earth First and raise marijuana out there in the trees and so forth to sustain yourself. Unless you want to turn into a total hermit, you cannot run away. And we're teaching people to run away, and then we feel sorry for those who do. We're in big trouble out there, folks. I think the country may be finished. Unless people get a handle on some of this stuff. That's why I say what we are full of here is tough love. Tough love. We'll be back in a minute.
You're listening to the EIB Network. Did you know that a car is stolen every 20 seconds? Don't gamble that yours will be next. With a proven anti-theft deterrent, the Club, you can reduce the chances by a staggering 99%, according to the statistics from McAllen, Texas. Why the Club? The Club's tough to defeat, easy to use, strong as nails, inexpensive, guaranteed, and the Club is available everywhere. If you truly want to protect your car or truck from being stolen, ask yourself this. Police say use it. Auto thieves say don't use it. Who do you believe? Don't be fooled by imitators. Remember, it must say the Club on the handle.
Let me tell you about Ginsana, the energizing product. Ginsana is the first standardized ginseng extract scientifically tested for 25 years. If you get tired easily, if you've lost your competitive edge, take Ginsana. All-natural Ginsana. It's energizing America. Ginsana from SunSource Health Products. Products that work naturally. For a free brochure, call 800-777-2000. 800-777-2000.
Ginsana. Ginsana. Ginsana.
Fine-looking automobile, isn't it?
Just looking, thanks.
Just rip that price sticker right off that car and forget it was ever there.
Then why'd you bother putting it on?
Oh, they're just for show. I can knock 75, 80 cents off your MSRP without even asking the boss.
Well, thanks,
but you got your factory dealer incentives, your dealer rebate, your discount for National Clean Your Aquarium Out Day.
I'd really just like some time to
Did I mention it was National Wipe Your Feet Day? We got a sale going on.
Hey, could you just stop hassling me?
Well, shoot, if you want that no-hassle stuff, why don't you go on down to Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro? They got no hassle buying every day.
Where did you say?
Courtesy Buick GMC on Highway 70 East Bypass in Goldsboro. They got no hassle buying on a big selection of Buicks and GMCs.
Well, great. Thanks a lot.
Come on down to Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro. No hassles from the sales staff, no high-pressure negotiating, just the lowest bottom-line prices right on the sticker. No hassle buying at Courtesy Buick GMC in Goldsboro. It's a better, easier way to buy a car.
Hey, did I mention our Fuzzy Dice giveaway?
When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut, or maybe a doctor. And I probably will be, because back when I was little, my mom and dad started buying U.S. savings bonds for education. They said U.S. savings bonds would grow almost as fast as I do.
And they were right. See, you buy U.S. savings bonds for half their face value. Then you hold on to them till they mature. You'll double your money, guaranteed. Know what else? Buying U.S. savings bonds is easy.
You can buy them through the U.S. Savings Bonds Payroll Savings Plan at work or at your bank. Just ask your employer for more information or visit your bank for a free brochure called U.S. Savings Bonds for Education. Most of all, buy U.S. Savings Bonds for your kids' education. Because U.S. Savings Bonds
grow almost as fast
as I do.
U.S. Savings Bonds.
And a Sunday to call to Minneapolis we go. Paul, hello. Welcome to the program.
Well, hello, Rush. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Quick comment on the Clinton plan for medical. We have a plan in place that's a shining example of what we don't want. I spent 20 years in the military, and I'm not saying I'm knocking the system. I got good care. But when you have a system where you pay a doctor the same price, whether he sees one patient or 1,000 patients a month, the system's going to suffer, and so are the patients.
You're talking about the VA?
The VA or the active duty military. It's the same system, really, when you look at it, just that it's used at different times in a person's life.
Okay, what's the second point?
Second
point, was there a second point?
Well, not really. I just wanted to make a mention of that because we have a shining example of what we really don't want to have happen to America.
Well, we got shining examples. I agree with you, but we got shining examples everywhere. The welfare system, the AFDC program, the Great Society. the civil rights movement from 1964 on, anytime you let the government try to fix anything, take control of it, and make prosperous people out of poor people, what happens?
It falls apart. You know, the government doesn't fix anything. They tend to muddle things up, to put it quite mildly.
Absolutely right. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Denver and Barbara, hello. Welcome to the program. Glad you called.
Hi, Rush. Megadiddles from Denver.
Thank you.
I wanted to pick up on a line that you said on the call before last when you said we may be finished, you know, because of how things are going and the feminazis are getting so much in control.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, and I think one of the reasons that we may be finished is because the women have allowed this country to go to hell in a handbasket. I don't know what the extreme opposite of a feminazi is, but I guess that's what I am. It all happened when women believed that they could have it all, that they could do it all. I think that is a major #1 mistake that we have made that has absolutely crumbled the society.
I'd have another way of putting it. I think the day the feminist movement decided they were unhappy being women and wanted to be just like men.
Well, that's true. I think the problem is that women think that they can be the super career woman, the super wife, the super mom, the super best friend, whatever. And I think you can be it all. I just don't think you can be it all at one time. I think you have to know your priorities. You can have your career.
I really don't think that's what they're about anymore. I think it's gone beyond that. They're just gone pure victim status now. I mean, the way females seek to advance themselves if they're feminists is to prove they've been victimized, and they want to ask a court or some other agency to leapfrog them beyond their current position without having earned it legitimately.
The Duke Blue Devils take to the road tonight as they beat Georgia Tech, and WGBR will be giving you all the action starting at 7:30. Tech is always dangerous at home, and Coach K will have his Devils at their best. Duke basketball is brought to you by Western Steer, Lawrence Travel Agency, Crawford Henderson Insurance, Prince Tire Company, the Goldsboro Flea Market, Moffat Oil Company, and Steve's Pizza Place. Duke tries to rank Tech tonight at 7:30 right here on Goldsboro's very own 1150 WGBR.
Not filling out one little form means you'd never be able to work at more than 3 million federal jobs. Not filling out one little form would keep you out of 125 job training programs forever. Not filling out that same little form means you couldn't get a student loan at 3,601 colleges and universities across the country. And that one little form takes just 5 minutes to fill out. So if you're a guy about to turn 18, register with Selective Service. Drop by the post office or mail back the card we send you. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
WGBR, Goldsboro's very own.
From ABC News, I'm Gary Nunn. A car going nowhere fast in New York City this afternoon, a sound that's become winter's theme song for millions of us in the population centers of the Northeast and in the Midwest. Another blizzard is barreling through today. Bad weather caused a snowplow and a van and a charter bus to collide in west central Minnesota on Interstate 94.
Awful. Just awful.
4 people are dead, more than 4 dozen injured along icy glazed I-44 in Oklahoma City. A 25-car pileup is now being cleared.
Pull your vehicle into the right-hand lane.
Rescue workers called in fire trucks to help emergency crews untangle the wreckage near Oklahoma City. Reporter Tom McDonald of ABC affiliate WWDB drove along a section of I-95.
Philadelphia, it looks like they just dumped the snow onto the ground. There's no snowplow that can keep up with this mess. Visibility is almost zero. People are slipping and sliding all over the place. Tom McDonald for ABC News, Philadelphia.
Reporter Kevin Christopher in the middle of the country, in the middle of another kind of winter.
This ice storm caught Cincinnati by surprise. Some areas got a half-inch of ice accumulation. It caused a number of accidents and school closings, and it's a strange sight. Seeing no snow, but rows of icicles hanging from wires and trees.
Even in Milwaukee, where winter is no stranger, there is some wishing and wanting for spring.
I've been living in Wisconsin all my life. I've had it with the weather. I've had it with the winter. Every week I'm out here shoveling.
I hate it. Sick of it. It's enough. Enough is enough, eh?
And that's in Milwaukee. Several commodity exchanges are closing early today because of the New York City snowstorm. The New York Stock Exchange and American Stock Exchange, though, will remain open. Sears has scored a stunning about-face, turning its worst financial year ever in 1992 to a profit of $2.4 million, rather $1 billion last year. You're listening to ABC News.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
I'll bet you can learn a foreign language in 30 days by investing just 30 minutes each day. Care to take me up on this bet? Then call Cybervision, a leader in personal development training programs, to find out about the Pimsleur language system, an all-audio cassette program which teaches you a foreign language without memorization. Call Cybervision and find out how to receive your portable stereo cassette player free. Call Cybervision now at 1-800-606-TALK. It's guaranteed for 30 days or your money back. That's 1-800-606-TALK.
The Congressional Budget Office says the Clinton health care plan would increase the federal deficit, not cut it. CBO, in a testimony situation prepared for the congressional hearing today, says the plan would drive up the deficit by $70 billion over the next 6 years. The White House is predicting that the plan would cut it by $58 billion over the same period. NATO allies are said to be close to agreeing on an ultimatum demanding that Bosnian Serb forces withdraw from around Sarajevo at least within 10 days or face Western airstrikes. Bras are being recycled by the Salvation Army in Dartington, England, for women in developing countries such as Russia, India, and Pakistan. Carol Arthur, in charge of the bra bank, says endowment is not very important in this project.
If you're tiny, it just means we get more bras to the ton. I would think. More, you get more if you were larger. That was all. I mean, at the moment, I went round my friends, and I've had all amount of sizes and shapes of bras come in.
Arthur says the Salvation Army can send sweaters, jeans, and coats, but if those people have no underwear, second-hand underwear that's clean is better than nothing. Wall Street, Dow Jones Industrials down 4.5 points at 3901.81 right now. The volume, 223,090,000 shares. Trading is heavy. This is ABC News.
At the first sign of rain, you break out the umbrella, right? Right. And at the first sign of a cold or flu, you get out the Coracidin. It relieves your cold and flu symptoms fast and helps prevent them from getting worse. And Coracidin is the only cold and flu medicine available with and without a decongestant. The decongestant-free formula is recommended by pharmacists for people with high blood pressure. So why take a cold or flu lying down? Take Coracidin at the very first sign. Ask your doctor. Use only as directed.
For the ABC Information Network, I'm Gary Nunn.
This is Larry King inviting you to join me each weekday afternoon on the Talk of the Town. Between 3 and 6, we cover a wide variety of topics ranging from important political issues to the world of entertainment. Each day we cover it with all our special guests, and of course you're invited to join in the discussions and debates and whatever. Plus, there's always Open Phone Americas. Join me for the Larry King Show weekdays at 3 on the Talk of the Town, 1150 WGBR.
A strong push of warm, moist air from the southwest has us in such a mild pattern now that our expected lows tonight are warmer than our normal highs for this time of year. The forecast for this afternoon, breezy. We'll have a mix of clouds and sunshine. Look for a few showers possible, highs 60 to 70 degrees. Then tonight, variably cloudy skies, lows dropping to 55 to 60. And for Wednesday, partly to mostly cloudy and breezy, some widely scattered showers and possibly some thunderstorms late in the day. Highs tomorrow 74 to 78. I'm Mike Moss at the Weather Center.
WGBR.
you conversationalists all across the fruited plain. Time for the award-winning, thrill-packed, ever-exciting, increasingly popular, growing by leaps and bounds, unparalleled in popularity, Rush Limbaugh program. Happy you're with us on a Blizzard Tuesday.
This is a special edition of the Rush Limbaugh program, America Held Hostage. And now, from our studios in New York City, here is Rush Limbaugh.
Counting the days of the raw deal, the Clinton administration, one day at a time for the last time. Hopefully, day 385 today for the poor and the middle class. Day 404 for the rich and the dead, with 1,075...